So I'm about to make a lot of Hunter x Hunter fans really, really mad. So, let's get on to it. So, I'm not going to really talk about the Chimera Ant arc as a whole until the arc is done, because that's honestly not fair to the arc. But I am going to talk about the Gon versus Pitou fight, because I feel like that fight is such an obvious disappointment. And what I mean by an obvious disappointment is that there was, honestly, when I think about it, there's kind of no way you could do that fight and no one not be disappointing. And you can tell because Togashi was kind of like, well, I can't really do this in a way in which people wouldn't sit there and go, wouldn't be like, what the... Like, he could have done it the right way, but the right way would have made it a really short fight. And granted, the fight in itself is short in itself. So, going about it the way he probably should have went about it, still probably wasn't going to work. Especially because he had to throw in all that shit with Killua and Gon's arm and the kite reference. So he was just kind of like, well, this game gonna be perfect, so fuck it. But I want to sit here and I want to have a serious discussion and topic about why this fight is not that good. Now, the first problem I have personally, and granted, whether you want to view it as a fight or not is subjective. I guess I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked it up, but I'm assuming the technical definition of a fight, it probably would still classify as a fight. But to me personally, I don't view that as a fight. I view that as an ass kicking. For all intents and purposes, Pitou didn't even fucking damage Gon while she was alive physically. Emotionally, yeah, she's been doing that kind of the entire arc without really even trying. But physically, she didn't even hurt him or even cause him any fucking minor inconvenience until she died at like the very end of her death. Well, I guess the beginning of her death, technically, but that's not the point. The point is, I don't view that as a fight when 90% of the fight was literally just, not even 90, it was like literally almost the entire time, Gon just beat her ass. Gon beat her ass. That's not a fight to me, honestly. Two, the second problem, is actually Pitou's fault again. When Pitou opened her mouth and said that that Gon powered up is as strong as the king. Now granted, obviously this meant pre-explosion king, you know, king as we knew him before the whole I've gained new powers because Poof and Yuppie have shared their spirit, soul powers with me, I guess. So even going off of that, I'm like, yeah, that makes about a good enough sense. I would expect that, I'm not even really mad that she said he's as strong as the king. It's just the fact that Gon doesn't even deliver on that power. From what we've seen, and see, the thing is, the king has had such ridiculous build-up that Gon would have to be OP on like almost on God tier level. Okay, if that was how, and that's what it is. Like when you say the king and the Gon are equal, that means that Gon can can murk anybody we've seen in the series so far. With that being stated, tell me why the fight didn't end when Gon punched her in the face out of midair. I even said this in the reaction video. I was like, shouldn't that have decapitated her head? Because to say that Gon is strong as the king but can't even decapitate her in midair makes no goddamn sense. Actually, if I want to be really technical, I could say, why didn't she split him apart? Why didn't she split him apart? Why didn't he split her apart when he kicked the shit out of her in her mid attack? Because he definitely put enough force into it. And see, if it was a normal punch that Gon hit her with in midair, maybe I would be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But this nigga hit her with a rock, paper, scissors punch in midair, and all he did was fuck up her face. No, that's inconsistent. You can't. We know the king for a fact can take off body parts like nobody's business. So to tell me that Gon couldn't do that with a jacked out punch, get out of here. We're done. That doesn't make any sense. To me, it felt like, now granted, the only argument I can really accept here is that maybe Gon's intention wasn't to kill her right then and there. Unfortunately, I don't believe that. Now, that's subjective, so you can believe whatever you want to believe, but me personally, I don't believe that to be the case. It's not like any punch he wasn't throwing wasn't to fuck her up immensely. Like, that was his goal, to kill her. So I don't see why he would try to prolong it, and there was nothing shown to make me think that he was prolonging the fight. He decked her with everything he had. So it didn't make any sense. And that's even worse considering the king can effortlessly take off body parts. So to tell me that Gon actually has to charge up a punch to do the same thing, even though they're on the same goddamn, apparently King and him have the same power at that moment, makes no sense. Now this third one, isn't that significant, but I'm gonna bring it to attention anyway. Him losing his arm. If he has the same level of perception as the king, he shouldn't have lost his arm. Like, dead ass. Like, now granted, you can argue that he was emotionally unstable, which I wouldn't. Like, this is the kind of one that I don't have a problem giving to people, but I'm just bringing it up because I question it. See, that's the problem when you when you relate him to someone that you set up to this ridiculous extent. For Gon not to be able to do simple things that technically wouldn't matter if he was just being overly strong, but because you related him to being as strong as the king, and Pitou would know, it would make no sense for Gon to not be able to do certain things, like kill her in midair with a rock, paper, scissors punch, or fucking cut her in half with his foot when he kicked her. You know, the fact that he had to throw multiple punches does not make sense at all for Pitou. It does not. The other thing that hurts this is considering, now granted, as I said, this is kind of an aesthetic thing. You can argue this is nitpicky, whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to really slight you for that. It's really hard to take this fight seriously sometimes, especially, I think you saw it in the reaction. My live reaction to the episode was like, dude, why, like, and see, here's the thing, I know a lot of people are just mad at this fight because of Gon's power. I have no problem with that, alright, look, Hunter x Hunter has pretty much said, you can do anything you want to as long as your imagination and your nin abilities allow it. Meaning, and considering Gon's ability isn't some type of summoning or some shit, all he's doing is enhancing his body as if he was a certain age that he would be to attain a certain power. I have no problem believing that he can do that. I have no problem with the power. I have no problem with him aging his body, especially because Nin has that cost thing. So in order to use the power, essentially he had to sacrifice something for it, which we'll probably find out later. Pretty much Gon isn't going to be fighting for a while, I'll say that goddamn much. So I have no problem with the power itself, but the hair was goofy as shit, yo. And see, Hunter x Hunter takes itself seriously, so when you have a scene in which Gon looks all badass and his hair is just going for days, son, that is goofy. That is goofy to the point where it's like, then he's walking, I mean, think about it. He's walking in children's clothes, because obviously that's what he was 5 seconds prior to the event. He's walking around in children's clothes, buffed out, talking all serious and shit, and you have his hair that is going off the damn screen. I think like every frame you see him, his hair is never on, his full hair is never on screen. And so I just look at it and go, that is ridiculous. That just takes the seriousness out of the situation. I honestly felt like and to me, I wouldn't even say this is even in top Hunter x Hunter fights. If you want to say, you know, top ass whoopings of all time, there you go. I'm not even saying the animation looked bad. I'm not saying the music looked bad. I'm not even saying the development at the end with Kite and Killua, the Kite reference with his arm and Killua and Pitou's like last stand and shit. I'm not saying any of that was bad. I'm saying the fight itself, the concept of which really divulged into Pitou lunging forward, Gon kicking her in midair, decking her in midair, and then proceeding to just wail on her throughout the rest of the fight, and then Pitou, after her head being blown off and being clearly dead, coming back and taking off Gon's arm. And Gon then proceeding to take his severed arm and jamming it into her gut and pretty much finishing her body off. That's what I'm saying. those sequence of events, not the emotional and the build up for it, just these sequence of events, that could have been a lot better. But then again, it could have been, that would have made it really fucking short. I don't even have a problem with the length. I actually think it's too long. Considering what Gon should have the ability to do, I feel like that shit dragged. And I feel like it dragged particularly just for the stuff at the end. And I'm not saying the stuff at the end was bad. I'm just saying I feel like he intentionally dragged that fight out by not having Gon kill her in like the first 3 moves he did. Literally, the first kick he gave her could have killed her. The punch he gave her in midair should have killed her. And then everything after that was just him unleashing rage. I actually thought it would have probably been a more interesting development to see that Gon has become so fucking strong that he can't even really get out his full aggression because he kills Pitou in 1 punch. So he proceeds to have, for the rest of the episode, for the most part, he's just wailing on her dead body. That would have been a lot more interesting because it's like, granted, it doesn't look as cool. That's probably the thing. It doesn't look as cool. But for all intents and purposes, it would have been a lot more disturbing and had a lot better shock value. But it probably wouldn't have been as epic to watch. That's really the only difference. Because it would have shown how hard his rage... Because it's like, you have him mentally snap, and then he proceeds to be calm for the rest of the next episode until the end of it. And I'm just like, yeah, that real... And look, I'm not saying that you can't have that emotional, chain of events and still come out that way. I'm just saying it probably would have shown his rage better to have him snap, go into full rage mode and kill her in one hit, and then proceed to realize that he can't get out any more rage on her lifeless body. So he just ends up wailing on her lifeless body because he's like, damn it, I killed her in one hit, what do I do? And just start wailing on the body. That would have been more interesting. The only problem is you couldn't do the stuff with Kahlua and the kite reference at the end and showing how strong Pitou's resolve was for the king. You couldn't show all that if you did it that way. And see, to me, what makes a good fight for a certain series is when it represents everything about the fighting system of that series. Hunter x Hunter is known for strategic fights. This is in no way a good representation of Hunter x Hunter's strategic fights. A good representation of Hunter x Hunter as a whole and how high the stakes are raised and how serious shit is would be, to me, I think Gon versus the Bomber is like the best representation. Kurapika versus Uvujin is a good fight in terms of showing off nin abilities. Gon versus Razor is a good fight. I mean, that whole dodgeball thing was good, and so was Gon versus Hisoka. But I don't feel like it fully recognizes what all Hunter x Hunter's strengths are in terms of a fight. And Gon versus Pitou just has bullshit ass shock value. It's like, dawg, did you see her? He decked that bitch out of midair. It's like that's what it comes off as. It has a lot of epic moments, but it isn't really a good fight for Hunter x Hunter. Because as I said, Hunter x Hunter fights are short and they're strategic. The reason why those things go hand in hand is because you don't really need to put too much effort. Because pretty much in like 2 or 3 moves, someone's dead. So it's like, to me, that fight just felt dragged out. The design of Gon's hair is what, it looks goofy, yo. And like maybe that has some type of correlation with his power that we'll learn in the future. But for right now, I'm saying it's goofy. Gon should have killed her within the first two moves at least. If not the kick, the punch should have killed her. And I feel like he just dragged that fight out for the sake of doing the stuff at the end. That's why I don't care for that fight. That fight has epic moments. The fight has great animation. The fight has good music. The shit at the end is not bad by any means. I just don't think it's a good... honestly, I don't think it's a good representation of Hunter x Hunter as a whole. I'm not the type of dude who gets shocked by that type of shit. Especially when people... Like, this is the problem. This is why I never understood why people like dark shit all the time. It gets kind of boring because you're literally watching the same type of shit. Oh, the only thing you can honestly do is either... And hey, look, I'm not even saying Gon versus Pitou didn't have bad setup. Gon versus Pitou had great, amazing setup. I like the setup for the fight. I just don't care for the fight itself. That's just me. But as I said, like that. But as I was going into the dark shit, I'm just like, that's what I don't understand why people like the dark shit so much. It's like, oh man, he raped her. Oh man, he chopped her head off in the arms or some shit. Like, you get, like, when you realize all of the options these villains have to fuck up with people, at a certain point, the shit just stops being interesting. It's like, oh man, it's like Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan's type of violence is boring as shit. It's like, oh look, that dude got sniped out of midair and his leg was cut off. Oh, that's kind of gruesome. So, like, we saw that happen in like 3 episodes ago. That's why I can't watch dark shit all the time. It gets boring, actually. It gets boring and less entertaining because everything is, because at a certain point, there's a difference between trying to be dark and then trying to be dark and edgy. If the world is dark in itself, it's like it becomes, the dark things that used to give you shock value in the beginning just become mundane and kind of what I expect. Like, your darkness is something I expect in later episodes or chapters of a series. But that's me going off in a tangent. But that's really my complaint. That's my main complaints with the Pitou versus Gon fight. And feel free to make responses and comments in the comment section below. I just don't think it's a good Hunter x Hunter fight, and I feel like it's too long. But I have no problem with the things that other people are mad at, like Pitou dying in the first place. I don't care. I knew that was probably going to happen anyway. I don't have a problem with Gon's power up. I think the hair looks painfully goofy. And if anyone's seen the figure they're making of that form, God, that just accentuates my point. It looks so goofy. And he already isn't even rocking no cool outfit when he's in it anyway. So it's like, he's in these tight ass clothes. He's all silent and stoic and shit. And his hair goes on for days. It's like he made a bet with fucking Goku. And he was like, yo dog, I bet you I can grow out my hair longer than yours. He's like, I'd like to see you try. And then Gon came back in like 30 or 40 years and like, look bitch. And Goku's like, fuck it, whatever, you win. Congratulations. But yeah, that's my thoughts. So please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. This has been the Insane Game Freak. That's a game. Play to win. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.